Here with Travis Mercado, coach Colorado Mesa. You said some fun things in the press conference, right? And one of them was your team's kind of the underdog, and you said you like that. What's that give your team coming into this event that maybe number 5 rank? We'll look at other teams.
You know what? It's been motivation for me all year to, how do we be better as as a team and then as individuals. But it's not something that is a big weight on our shoulders at all, right? We're the underdogs a little bit, right? In the sense of it sounds like all year long it's been a 4-team race of who's going to be the top 4, right? It's kind of like a 2-team race to number 1, and then who's going to be 3 and 4. And I'm like, dang, we're always kind of left out of the conversation. We've been top 4 3 out of the 4 years. We're pretty good too. But again, I think it gives us the opportunity of we don't have anything to prove. There's nothing to prove in the sense of pressure, right, or privilege, or whatever words you want to use. We get an opportunity to go out and compete against the best people every opportunity that we get, right? You mentioned earlier how tough the West is, and I don't think the western half of the United States gets enough credit in the quality of wrestling that we have out there, right? We have some amazing programs, and I mentioned Simon Fraser, us, right? Texas Women has an amazing coach in Randy Miller, an Olympic medalist, right? So we have some great quality wrestling, and it's going to just continue to grow. So being able to compete out here, and I challenge the teams of the Southeast, Northeast, Midwest to come out to the West and compete against us, give us an opportunity to show you why we have some of the best wrestling out on the western half of the United States.
How much pride did your group of teams feel in being the first Division II women's conference meet up there in Denver? The RMAC had a championship that was kind of historic for that level, right?
You know what? It was exciting to be a part of that. The Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference, I'm very grateful for that they decided to sponsor women's wrestling right off the bat. I remember having a conversation with Commissioner Chris Graham at our coaches meeting, kind of an impromptu, non-formal one, and he was like, what should we do? Should we wait for more schools, or should we just announce it and try to entice? And I said, I think we need to be the chicken, not the egg in this example. And by putting us as a conference sport, I think it puts a little bit of, and I say this nicely, friendly pressure on some of those other Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference schools, like a Western Colorado, a Pueblo, a New Mexico Highlands, or, someone like a UCCS, a Regis, a Westminster in Utah to look at it and think about adding women's wrestling. And I think it'd be a great opportunity. And the fact that we hosted the first Division II conference championship, I think our girls really took it as a sign of excitement. They were the very first girls to win an RMAC championship as an individual, right? Genesis Martinez will go down as the very first Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference wrestling individual champion, given the fact that she wrestled at 101 pounds. But then you have 5 others, and then 3 girls from Simon Fraser, and then I believe it was Liana Fernandez from Adams State, right? So to have that opportunity to have our first conference championship, I think it really sets the bar high for the other conferences to start looking at it, putting a conference championship schedule together, putting a dual meet schedule together. It just creates more excitement in the sport, right? Everybody talks about the Big 10s, the Big 12s, and right, when we can start doing this at the women's wrestling level, having conference type championships, it's just going to create more media, it's going to create more opportunities, it's going to create more buzz around the sport, and I think that's ultimately what we're trying to do, is continue to grow the sport, provide opportunities for our female athletes to compete just like our male counterparts at the NCAA level.
So someone who might not know your team, or only a few people on your team, what athletes would you want them to keep an eye on from your group in the next 2 days? Maybe somebody who, as a coach, you've seen is doing a great job, but may not have been getting any publicity for it.
Right. Hey, we come in here, like I said, there's some girls that have, I try to stay off of social media and some of the media outlets this week, but they just catch my eye as I'm sitting at the airport and, sitting in the hotel room or in the lobby. And, right, one of the first ones is Genesis Martinez. She's a 3-time All-American, finishing third, fourth, at her 3 appearances here at the National Collegiate Women's Wrestling Championship. 2 of those 3 times she's beaten the number 1 seed in the tournament. We just haven't found our way to the top of the podium yet. So, she had an undefeated season. She's done fantastic. I'm really excited about her, right? 2-time national finalist Dalia Garibay at 155 pounds, right? When she shows up to the national tournament, she shows up and shows out, and so that's someone I don't want to. She's seeded 4th or 5th, and that's not someone you want early on in the bracket. And I'm really excited about seeing her compete in her senior year. And sometimes history repeats itself. Her senior year in high school, she had made the finals a handful of times in California State, and her senior year she won it. So we're kind of hoping that history repeats itself this weekend. Holly Bodwin at 136 pounds has been ranked as high as 2nd and 3rd this year in the national ranking. She's a 2-time All-American, finishing 6th, and I'm really excited about her as well. She's put the work in as a senior, and she's really ready to kind of break free of the 6. And similar to the Dahlia situation, Holly finished second in high school, and then finally her senior year she won it. Kind of hoping history kind of repeats itself again here with Holly. We're finishing 6'6", and we find our way to the top of the podium. And our 191-pound Jaylene Sakona, right, another 2-time All-American for us. Her freshman year came in unranked, unseeded, and ran the table, finishing 3rd at the national championship. Last year she finished 5th. Again, she's done a fantastic job for us. She's got a lot of excitement in her. She's ready to compete this weekend. I'm ready to sit in the corner and coach all 11 of our amazing athletes.
So have you enjoyed seeing the growth of the sport since you've been involved? I mean, you coached at one of the best women's teams as an assistant coach, took over your own program and have built a strong program. As one of the coaches that have been part of this journey, what kind of pride do you take in seeing the sport starting to really run and take off?
It's been amazing to see that, right? Last year when we walked into this tournament, and to see all the banners, and yeah, they're not the NCAA logo, but you kind of look at the font and you're like, it's pretty close to the NCAA font that they use. So to see that, to go from, right, my first national championship for women's wrestling was at Missouri Baptist, where it was on 3 mats and, like I said earlier, maybe 30 some odd schools, to now where we have just 58 NCAA programs here this weekend, and the NAI is wrestling this weekend as well, and the junior colleges wrestled last weekend. To see that growth has been tremendous, and to see so many universities buy into women's wrestling. And I know Terry Steiner said it at one point, like, why limit women's wrestling to 50% or wet wrestling to 50% of the community when we can provide the same opportunities to our female athletes and give them the same things that we've benefited from in the sport. So to see the growth and to hear the NCAA give that recommendation to move forward in the championship status was really an exciting day in the office at Colorado Mesa. And like you said, I was part of a fantastic program at King. I was very fortunate to be able to coach underneath Jason Mormon as one of his assistant coaches and as an associate head coach in the final years there. And to be able to start my own program at Colorado Mesa has been tremendous. And to kind of, like I said earlier, be the leaders in the West and kind of be true to our mascot name and being a maverick and leading women's wrestling in the West and kind of being the ones to, this is how we do it, this is how we can continue to grow the sport.
Well, hey, thanks a lot, Coach. Best wishes for you and your team this weekend.
Absolutely. Thanks, Gary. Go Mavs.